so you guys did a whole bunch of shopping. You guys sold the saddle. You guys did some more research. Sophia went around trying to find some information around town. You did some research at some local libraries, some local bookshops.
Also got a vision.
Yes, and you got a vision. We went over the vision last time.
Yes, we did.
All right, so go ahead and recap basically what you did. So recap your vision, and then recap what we went over this last time. New information, and we'll go from there.
Alrighty. So everyone knows about Andre and the information about the 3 tasks, but last time I was doing a lot of research and trying to get more information about where exactly we're supposed to go. And throughout my time trying to figure it out, Alo was reading his journal, going over different things, and playing his harmonica, as he does, because he's a fucking bard. You know, that's the kind of stuff that you do. So, as he's playing, he kind of gets hit with this vision while he is doing it. He actually loses PSP. But when he lost this PSP, when he had this experience, he actually had some sort of like a vision or daydream. And in this vision or daydream, he was able to see a building on top of a hill. This is a Pantheon type building. There was a giant staircase leading up to it. And even though in this vision it was during the daytime, you could see in the distance behind this building a star in the background. And this is a surprisingly bright, shining star for the daytime. And while I was here looking at this building, I could also audibly hear the sound of a lyre playing. Off in the distance, can't exactly tell where it's coming from, but I can hear the sound of this lyre playing. And fortunately, I was able to write down the melody well enough that I could replay this tune. So, I have the melody for this tune. I have the general idea. Sadly, as soon as I came out of this vision, as soon as I came out of this daydream, it was almost like it was a distant memory. I couldn't quite grasp onto it enough to draw a picture of what I saw, but I know in my mind what I saw. But I was able to write down the actual notes for this song. But also, I was able to determine, based upon the information in the lore that I had gathered throughout history and throughout the different islands. We have, I believe there are 6 different islands, including the one that we're currently on, if I am correct. So, let me pull up the Discord so I can go ahead and read off of that for you guys. But basically, these different islands, the one that we're on is actually, you're correct, the 7th island. But the other 6 islands are the important ones. There is, I believe it's pronounced Maya, and this is the eldest island. There's also...
She was the eldest sister.
The eldest sister. I believe this one is Electra, and that is the most beautiful island. And then there's Tegate. That one doesn't have a description. There is... I can't pronounce that. That one right there? Solano. I like that. There's also Alcyon, and that one is described as the youngest island. There's also Strope, which does not have a description or much history attached to it. And the last one is Merope. And that one is described as the smartest of the islands. Or the sisters, belay my last. These islands that we live on, despite the fact that we don't necessarily think about going to these islands very much, there is history and there's information known about these islands. So when I started going a little bit more in depth, as I've never done before, because mostly I've never needed to do before, I discovered a bit of information about these islands. One of which, the most beautiful, That one is described to have a lot of agriculture associated with it. Like, there's a lot of different crops that come from there. There's a lot of import-export stuff that comes through there. There's just a whole lot of information and culture that comes from this island. And one of the other islands, the one that's described as the youngest sister, this one was more described as being full of life, being full of exuberance and excitement, and being very outgoing.
Did you have the actual notes that we had? Your clothes been a little off.
I didn't have all of the details on them.
So going back to this will have been covered in a different episode by me. But so each island, the 7 islands, do represent the 7 sisters of Gaia, which is known as basically the mother of everything.
Right.
So these were her 7. Yeah, basically the only thing that is ever referenced to these islands is that basically they were the 7 sisters of Gaia. This is how they were immortalized by Jupiter. Anyway, so you were correct. So Maya, the eldest, is the one that you live on. It's the largest, has the most prosperity, is known for their agriculture and everything else like that, which is why you guys have so much, all the lands you went through have, lush fields, a lot of farming, a lot of orchards. You guys have a lot of it. So, vineyards, things like that. It's excellent here. All the soil is great for almost everything. The next one you were talking about was Electra. So Electra, known as the most beautiful, is also known as the Garden Island. It's the one with the most exotic plants. There are things that are found on any of the other islands. There are things there that people from all over, even beyond the 7 islands, try to get because they're not found anywhere else. So you understood that, here on Maya, you found the temple of knowledge, the field of
Garden of knowledge.
Yeah, so that's where you feel like that makes sense. And then, so when you looked at Electra, you were thinking that actually correlated to being the most beautiful and having the most epic scenery. You expect that to be the ending of your 3 tasks because you
the Sea of Eternity.
That would make sense where the Sea of Eternity is with the most beautiful of islands. You would think that's where they would connect, which definitely goes along with various types of lore that you have been reading. And then to the next island, Alcyone, was considered the youngest sister. And Alcyone was also known as the most exuberant, the most vibrant sister. Obviously had the most energy. They were the youngest. They always liked to be in the spotlight. They always wanted to, just basically have all of the attention on them. So this particular island is actually known as the Paradise Island. This is kind of where the super rich and the kings and queens will actually go on their vacations. This is supposed to be, kind of think of our version of the Bahamas or Hawaii. Just so happens to be the one island that gets the best year-round weather. It's been allegedly reported. People swear days are longer. People swear that it's always sunny, even at night. Even at night, there's always a full moon, or at least the moon's bright, so you can walk around at night. So, then you had the last one, Merope, or
Merope.
Yeah. So this one, also was known as the smartest of sisters. But due to that, just like, with anything, being the smartest sister always also came with being somewhat of a loner. Somewhat of kind of away from the rest of the sisters. So always known to be a little bit more depressed than the rest. Always was a little bit, not always on the happy side. And just so happens that this particular island seems to actually get the worst weather of all of them based on its positioning. It tends to usually be cloudy and dark. Again, almost similarly, not very many people, because of the bad weather that constantly seems to overthrow that island. It's actually the least populated. Not very many people visit there. Just as the opposite of Alcyone, they swear days are extremely short if you ever see the sun at all. Nights seem to last just
forever.
Yeah. So you have come down to the idea that Electra holds the final key. You believe that Merope holds the key to being the Isle of Darkness, based on the lore of the sister, and
one that we're supposed to go to.
Coming down to Alcyone being the first task, being the Paradise Island, the one bathed in sunlight, being the Isle of Light. based on all of the imagery and descriptions that you were able to take all of these hours. Now, granted, all of this isn't normal common knowledge. This is hours of research and finding out different explorers and who went where and how they described it over different generations and different eras. So these different descriptions weren't by one person or one exploration group. You know, these islands aren't like Hawaii where you go to the edge and you just see out. You know, these islands are extremely far apart. It takes, you know, as far as you know, you actually don't even know how long it takes, but you know that those people who decide to travel don't ever come back. Unless they're nobles or people of status who, you know, go and visit them. For people you've known that have left your hometown or your, you know, city that you know, that say, hey, I'm going to go get a job over here on a different island, they're gone. Like, they go south, never come back.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's kind of what he found out.
And so I talked to you about this, like, as we're on our way down.
Yeah.
And this took him this. So this is all of this cumulative knowledge took him the same amount of time it took you guys to level up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during that time, this is when he was going to libraries and old bookshops. I mean, he was just, you know, basically pouring into his books and the work that he and Andre did, and eventually got to this amount of knowledge from just varying sources, and was able to make these determinations. And granted, again, everything we just went through, put it in the context of every detail I just gave you, is your hand.
Right.
This is what you think happened. Now, it's not that you read a story that, you know, this is the Paradise Island.
Right.
You read almost like this king's letter had said, oh, wait a second, there was a king that came here in the 1700s. You remember a story about that.
Right.
So you went to the local record shop and found all of the, you know, basically like the ledger books. And you found the ship that he came in on in that same year. And there was a letter that he basically wrote, and it had that on file, and you read that letter, and then he mentioned that this is a stop from here to that island, and he mentioned that it was for pleasure, like for vacation, basically.
Right.
And then in another story, there was a retired, you know, like butler to a high nobleman who mentioned that, you know, who once in one of his stories mentioned how he had packed specifically for his master to go on a trip to that island.
Right.
For, you know, a 3-week stay. And, you know, how long he was going to be gone. He kind of mentioned how long it was going to take to travel there, and then you kind of built this idea of, oh, okay, so...
Right.
So you...
compiled all this information
together into this narrative.
And then from those narratives, I was able to deduce, like, which one applied more and or less
so
to the...
you found out that, like, let's say, Maroke, you looked at, you would look at weather patterns. You would be like, Isle of Light, Isle of Darkness. Well, does that have any real life significance? Because we don't call these things.
Right.
So as you're looking through, you find out, like when you're researching one, that, wow, this one gets hit with like hurricanes and storms.
It was funny.
Always cloudy and damp.
Just now is when it hit me that you said this one is almost always night, and that it says the Isle of Darkness. That was the first time I made that particular connection.
Oh my gosh. What?
But you made the whole thing about the Island of Paradise being the Isle of Light.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I literally said in just the opposite this one.
But see, that's what I connected it to, was being opposites more than the actual light and whatever. Don't judge me.
So anyway, so you found, you know, all of these reports of it hitting, like you found ship reports,
right?
Like distress calls of ships coming out of that port because they were there for a little less than 6 hours and suddenly there was storms. Then there's other reports of supplies being sent, but there's no reports of successful, like supplies were sent and dropped off for like building a city, and yet there was never any confirmation of when that happened or that, hey, we've used it, let's re-up.
Right.
So it's like, what is going on? Where's the expansion that we did? And these are, you know, old hundreds years old. You know, it's like you trying to read like news clippings from when we tried to, like, when we first set in Alaska and try to figure out where did we actually try to go first versus where we settled.
Just out of curiosity, kind of like, is it common knowledge? Would I know this rising of Gaia that we're about to experience? Is that across all 7 of the islands? Like, is that experience? Is that prosperity? So across all 7 of those, or is it only? So
the prosperity is from that, you know, that generalized religious scientific belief that is what the era is called. That's what they call it. So it's kind of like, say, the Chinese New Year of I'm totally wrong here probably, but like to say the Chinese New Year of the rabbit is equal to a lucky year.
Right.
Like that's the context behind why people say it's the time of prosperity, because that is what the lore said.
Right.
But what that means, because again it's been so long, what that means in representation to what is actually going to happen is kind of one of those. That's why nobody really thinks. Like, no one's really
yeah.
Because what that means, like, okay, so it's
not like some actual thing's gonna like come down.
It's like going to a culture or a community and try to explain to them what an equinox is.
Okay.
Extremely big, extremely kind of important concept. When you tell them tomorrow is the equinox, what does that mean to them? What are they going to see? And that's what it is to you.
Right.
That's more or less, out of game, what you guys are going to experience is there is this concept happening, and you guys all know it does mean something in the world is going to change. You just don't know what.
It's like the second coming of Jesus.
Jesus!
Yeah. So again, it's one hand, something is going to happen. You do believe things are going to change. Again, because when you talk about other religious contexts like, the gods being angry, well, that equates to a storm happening.
Armageddon.
So you see the religious context, but you also see the scientific explanation part.
Right.
That is what you guys are expecting at the rise of Gaia. Everyone knows something's going to happen, but that's also kind of like saying winter is coming. Like, something is going to happen, and it's going to be big, but do you really understand? No, because it's been so long.
Winter is coming.
That you can explain that it's going to be cold, so you can explain that it's going to be prosperity, right?
But yeah, so that's what we figured out about shit and stuff and things, I think.
Yeah.
That is so descriptive.
What? You
okay.
Come on.
So anyway, so he found out all of that, and so you guys have made all your preparations, unless there's anything last second that you guys have thought of since.
Nope.
You guys would be headed back. You guys would be heading down south.
So do we actually have a map of the
I am
islands?
glad you asked.
I feel like it's something
nobody
I
had
would.
thought to buy one.
I think that's something I would think to buy.
Yeah, it definitely is. Like, knowing her personality and how she's been throughout all my touring and
So
stuff.
we're going to other islands? Alright, we need a map.
Yeah.
All right.
So the map store.
The map that you were looking for is actually going to be a very difficult one to find. The majority of maps that you have are similar to kind of like a road tripping tourist nightmare, where every place you go has a local map. Roughly, usually the next couple blocks. Some have a full city map, and some have a rough map between the cities, but no one has a map of the whole island. So I will have you both roll percentiles.
If I give you a good enough story, will you allow me to do a thing?
Roll percentiles first.
Okay.
Explain.
Okay.
Go ahead and explain your thing.
So I want to be able to say that just like knowing that right there, that would have bugged me that I never saw like a map of like everything.
It's because this is where you grew up, it is just part of society. Because that's like, imagine a school teacher or a farmer, and they grew up in the same house their parents grew up in, and they've never left their hometown. With the majority of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get you.
And you're an anomaly.
I get that.
But the idea isn't. I mean, I loved where you were going with the conspiracy, and you can. I will allow. Actually, go ahead first before you roll. Did you roll percentile?
I haven't yet.
Real quick, since you brought that up, roll me a wisdom.
Okay.
Because you brought up a good point. So no, it wouldn't have bugged you during that time because you understood that most of these people have never left like a 5-block radius. I mean, you also got to think about that. Think about it. If you grew up in the house that your parents and your grandparents grew up in, and most likely your great-grandparents built, and the farmer's market is 2 blocks to your left, and your parents' workshop that you work in is downstairs, and the guy that you go to get trained on your next job is 2 blocks to the right.
Mm-hmm.
You have a 5-block radius.
Yeah.
Your whole life is right there. Everything you need, bread, food.
Yeah.
The most thing you'll travel for is to go to the theater.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to go to the arena. You know what I mean? Like, you won't really travel outside of your necessities. So most people don't need bigger maps.
Could we at least say that because I was traveling, that I did understand that was the norm, but because I was traveling, I got curious enough that I looked for one while we traveled. Just to have.
Yes, what was your wisdom roll?
I actually hit my wisdom, 17.
Nice. So I will actually totally allow you by now, especially again now that you're looking for a map of the island, because you know what we're going to say that you've done this before, but with that, now with all of your conspiracy, now you're going to directly start considering what if that's part of the intentionalness of this? Like, like the idea of, if everything's local, people wouldn't be as interested in going to the Garden of Knowledge. Think about it. If things are on a map, why do people go places?
Right.
Because you know about them.
Right.
And if you have a map of everything, like you
how expensive are maps?
It depends on how nice they are. You can get one for like a silver. I mean, you can get a crude map, someone will draw you for like a couple copper.
Right.
But if you want like a nice detailed map, they can use 1 gold. But if you want something, usually like the bigger maps and they're really, really detailed about places, people, and details like that, they can go up to 10 gold. Depends on how really nice and how much info you want.
Right.
They can get pretty big too. But so I'm gonna do a couple things. So you're gonna make the connection that makes a lot more sense. The less people know about, the less likely they're gonna go around. That's a good way of control, and it's also a good way of hiding things, like the Garden of Knowledge. You know about it because you're a bard. You've heard the stories enough.
Right.
Most people hear that story once in their life when they go to the theater and then forget about it, right? No one ever thinks, what forest did Hansel and Gretel take place in?
Right.
But someone who knows that story in and out and has heard every variation could probably point it out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So that's you right now.
Okay.
People heard about the Garden of Knowledge. You knew it was only a couple weeks away from you.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yes.
So
okay.
So you're gonna start. I will allow you with that role to make the concept about the conspiracy, making sure like if that was woven into society, that makes sense. So go ahead and make a percentile roll for a chance to previously have looked for a map, and you won't look.
Okay. Nope.
Your roll
91.
Wouldn't have been enough either way. Go ahead and roll for current.
Okay.
Like I said, if I would have had you roll higher or low, it wasn't enough.
18.
Just barely. First roll is going to give you a 7% chance. This roll will give you a 15 for all the extra bonuses. And what'd you roll?
94.
Okay. Okay, Jen. Congrats.
Because what I was thinking was that I wouldn't just go to a shop, a local shop. I thought you said I had gone to the docks and was like asking around and stuff.
No. You were doing that when you guys were leveling up. Just what you guys were doing in order to find the best way to go to the dogs. You guys found out how to go to the dogs.
Oh yeah.
And find out that you had to go south for it. But you were looking for more info on like the best way to get there and all of that, and what how long it's going to take. He found all of this out by his immense research, and now you guys both decided, hey, you know you're going south, but that's when you kind of were like, shouldn't we get a map?
We were going to go west to the first time we ever saw water, because that's the only place I thought, and then because you were looking around, what's that?
Technically northwest.
But because you did all your investigation and looking around, you discovered that south is the only place we can actually catch a ride out to the other islands.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going south now.
Okay. For some reason, I thought I got that information at the docks. Like, I thought our town was closer to the docks. For some reason,
I apologize. So that would be my preferred.
Where... I do want to know if you'll allow me to back game something, though.
Depends. What is it?
On the map side of things, because there isn't a full map, I was wondering if you would allow me to back gaming, collecting a map, kind of like a souvenir cup, from every place that I visited, and trying to build my own master map. So, part of what the roles I was having you make is that you basically would have done the exact same thing you've been doing with all of your stories. You would have done basically the same thing with all the local
local maps, because then your book is essentially, for lack of a better word, an interactive map.
Right.
Because of the way it organizes pages, a flip of the page back and forth could literally be going one street at a time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so you would have been able to compile down. It's not a great map, and it's not really an island map, but you would have been able to collect enough to have most of the major cities and most of the major roadways.
Okay.
But you might have a full master map of, like, the capital. That would be different.
And that's where we live.
No, you guys don't live in the capital. You'd also have one for your own town.
Okay.
So in your book, you'd probably basically have the Google Maps concept of your town and the capital, and then some basic concept maps
of the other places I visited. But with her role, you said we were able to find a map that we were looking for?
Yes. So with that, she was able to kind of use some of her persuasive powers.
Ta-da!
And she was able
Tell me what you know.
She was able to find somebody who you were talking to. And while you were talking to them and they were distracted, she kind of poked around and found out that they were basically lying to you. And they knew somebody who had actually had a map. And then when you went off to go find somebody else to go look at the map for, she trailed off and basically found that person and didn't even really have to talk to him. Just somehow just acquired the map. He was very nice about it, and he thought that she could very much use it.
Well, he's such a nice.
That's cool.
Well, essentially, all she would have had to do was just make him forget to lock his door before he went to bed.
That's true.
So, you guys have what appears to be a tradesman.
Okay.
And it would probably one of the only one that exists this far inland. I probably should put...
When did you draw that up?
Today.
Oh. Well then.
Like, where did that come from?
But yeah. That is your official tradesman's map.
Ta-da!
Oh, snap. Oh, I'm looking at it upside down.
Well, technically, you can't look at a map upside down.
Well, it has words on it, and I was reading the words upside down. So, there was that.
So we're on Maya right now.
Yes. You were on Maya, the largest island.
That's the moon-shaped one, right?
Yeah, kind of.
So
I was
now
gonna
do you
say
see why it took you guys 6 years to kind of travel around? That's why it took you 6 years, because it's...
Right.
Yes.
I don't like that the legend's this direction, but the stuff is written this direction.
You said
Wait,
maybe
what?
it's meant to be done that
You
way.
said north, south, east, west, this direction. But all the names are this direction. So I'm looking at it, I'm like,
some of the
north.
names
I'm
are
like, no, north is that way.
Look at the names in the boxes, though. Look at the names in the boxes.
They're this direction.
Exactly.
Maybe it's meant to be that way.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So where are we?
you are currently hometown. One there. That should say home.
Oh, that's what that says.
Hometown.
I see. Which one?
Yeah, hometown.
That's it.
If I could get away with it, but since it's a podcast, I probably can't. But I just want, like, right as she said that, I would just love to edit in the part of Black Books where he's like, it's perfectly simple. No Walkmans. None of that. None of the rest of it.
None of any of it.
Oh yeah, but no mobiles. No Walkmans. None of that. Or any of the rest.
So we're gonna hit this outpost before we hit the docks.
It seems like it. That's what it says.
So, what you guys also found here, and what you guys can now notice, is it looks like your island is actually surrounded by cliff. Mountains. And which is interesting, because even though you guys have always known that you're on an island, it's never really crossed your minds that, kind of like here in California, when you're on, like, I-5, and you look out and just to the distance and the fields are just flat, and you see that, just that blue line in the distance of the mountain ranges, because we're basically surrounded by them. It's basically what you guys have always seen. Just whenever you see it all the way in the distance, there's always that, like, blue, hazy mountainous range always in the distance. Never really thought twice about it, but your entire island's surrounded by it.
So is this the town we went to when we saw the ocean for the first time?
Yeah, you would have been there, and then you would have gone to some small towns, and then you would have actually passed by this little area right there.
Gotcha. Is there a trail from hometown to
No, that's why it can take up to 3 weeks because you had to go to here and then to here. Because that's where the trail is. And it's not really a normal trail, it's kind of just barely an ancient one, you know?
Right.
But you guys know of it as the only one that was traceable by your guys' carriage.
Right.
So that's why it took you guys so long, is it was about 5 days there, 5 days there.
Okay. Cool.
But normally it would take about, I would say, at least 10 days usually just to get between the city.
Oh.
You guys made it there pretty fucking quick.
It's because we're bosses.
Like a spouse.
So yeah, so congratulations, you guys have one of the only maps of all of the islands.
Sweet.
It was so nice when you let me have it.
Charles, no,
yeah.
give it to me.
Oh, shoot.
You guys better take care of that.
I'm going to leave this in
Give me
your
that.
capable
No,
hands.
actually, do give that to me for a second.
Are you going to take a picture of it in
Yeah,
case
well,
we
yeah,
fuck it
because-
up?
Before it gets destroyed.
Because I need
Or
to fucking-
lost.
Yeah. Cool. Now you guys can have it. It's all yours. That is your map.
La, 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 la,
Consider
la,
consider
la.
that map equally attached, or okay, so consider that map quantumly bound to the map in game. If you don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Oh, shit.
That is y'all's map.
What if I take a picture of it? Does that count?
No. That physical map is quantum bound to the physical map that your character holds.
By non-pickup.
But if you ever do lose it, out of game, I don't care if you have pictures,
Your map is gone.
I don't care that it's in your book. The idea is that if you lose that, or it gets destroyed, so does your in-game map.
So now that we got a map, and we know where we're going...
You're taking your chauffeur with you?
Yeah, he's driving.
What's his face?
I really don't remember what the hell we called him.
He doesn't have it. His name changes. It
Yeah.
depends on what mood we're in. And we always call him the wrong name, and he's always just whispering. It's like, it's blah blah blah. And we're like,
gonna
yeah,
be like-
whatever, Frank.
So you guys have basically you guys are going to canonize it that you've actually never taken the time
To learn.
to learn his name.
So fucked
In
up.
this, like, what,
That's
6 years that he's been with
Oh,
us?
damn it.
Well, at first it started as a joke, but it got so bad that you literally forgot his real name. So you guys literally just had to keep the joke running because you quite literally don't remember it anymore. That's what we're going to say happened.
Oh my god, how great would it be if he acted like Becca from the movie in the Great Job, Reggie?
I'm ready.
I'm Reggie.
So no, but I love to imagine that's exactly what happened. One night you guys just meant to invite him, and then you guys both realized, like, hey, let's invite.
But then we saw him and we were like, hey!
And then
you called him a random name
And then
again.
you guys just immediately went back to.
And then we just made sure at that point we always had a place to know where he was, so we didn't have to like look for him by name for any reason.
Do you guys remember what he looks like?
No.
We didn't say what he looked like.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he described him, but it was like when we first got him, and I don't think either of us were.
I know he was human.
He's not human.
So descriptive.
He's not human.
What do you mean he's not?
Well, he's a dwarf.
Is he?
Yeah.
I just remember my character really hated him for like years.
Yeah, but dwarves are tiny.
He looks like a stout, fat man, but it was like years. Like he wasn't like a spry young anything. But
I'm a spry young 10-year-old.
because you were just looking for basically a chariot taxi driver.
Pretty much, yeah.
You weren't looking for like a stable hand. So you were just looking for someone who could taxi you around, and when you first went out, he's basically a taxi driver.
But we
He's
sent him on
he-
errands like Gorman.
Well,
Exactly.
he's pretty much our groupie, and we're just like, yo, you want to come travel with us?
Remember, it's been technically 8 years.
Yeah.
Because you started using his services when you met him in the capital, when you first traveling there in the very, very beginning. Then, when you went back to the capital to start your 6-year tour, you basically went to him and said, hey, we're going to be here a while, be our taxi man. And then you said, hey, so after like a couple weeks of doing your tour in your first couple weeks in the capital doing your tour, that 6-year time, you basically exclusively used him. You said, hey, we're going to be here a few weeks, you're exclusively ours. And he's like, cool. Then out of nowhere, a couple weeks in, you're just like, all right, pack up the bags, we're going over here to this city. And he's like, and you're like, come on, let's go. And you literally just hired him for 6 years. You literally told him, hey, we're here for like 3 or 4 weeks. You just want to exclusively drive us around. He's like, cool. And then 4 weeks later, you were like, we're just leaving this city. And he was just like, and you were like, come on. And he just loaded your bags and took you. And no one ever talked about it after that. And so that was for a year you used his services. You came back, did 6 years with him. It's been a year since. So he's been with you for 8 years. But yeah, so when you met him, he was a lot younger. Now, 8 years later, because you guys were super young when you guys started your tour.
I know,
you
and
guys
that's
were
just making it even more creepy, depending on how
well, okay, think about this. You guys were basically the Jackson 5 of that time, right? Because remember, you guys were like 9 and 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, he was about 24, 25.
That's creepy!
Think about it. He was a taxi driver. You two are becoming famous.
Oh, Jesus.
Exactly. So, but the thing is, he totally just did this, and all of a sudden, you two are running off, and of course, he's from lower middle class. He doesn't really have a lot going for him. You're just raking into dope right now. Like, he just watched this kid literally come here for over a year, do petty little shows here and there at bars. Then out of nowhere, he shows up, does a fucking tour for a month, literally at like high gala events, and then he's just like, come with us. And he's just literally like just covered in gold at this point. There's like gold everywhere.
But I mean, that makes more sense why we wouldn't remember his name.
Yeah, because at first he was literally just a taxi driver you thought was cool. And you guys were kids. And he was just like, oh yeah, cool, I like music, whatever. Remember, by that point in life, he has settled into his life. All he is doing is he knows horses and he knows how to just take stuff around, right? Like, he has gotten into that by the point because he had passed the age of it. So, once he settled into that, you guys were the most, exciting thing to happen in his life. And he jumped, think about it, 23, 24 years old, he's already assigned himself to just living here in the capital, just carting stuff around, and suddenly he has the opportunity to go live fantasy. To be a fucking groupie in a world that doesn't have groupies, you know what I mean? Like, he got to travel with rich, famous people, and literally his job just was carting you guys around, eating nice food, staying in nice beds. Or he could stay here and cart manure and tomatoes and corn and wheat and take care of his mule and fix his wheels when they break. Or he could be drinking wine and eating grapes and going to brothels and listening to music. He had the opportunity and he jumped on it, even though you guys were children prodigies at the point. And of course, I'm sure at that point you were also getting into your magical powers, or your psychic powers. So you were probably tapping into him once in a while as practice. And he may or may not have noticed. So you also could have just fucked with him enough to where by the time you guys were well into that, like literally he could be so deep in it without you even knowing, like you could have done it so subconsciously that literally it's impulsive for him to just go along with you guys. Like, you guys came home and he came with you.
Stockholm Syndrome?
No, it's like you got the bell thing, like the salivate and everything. It's just like every time, hey, come with us. Okay.
He was obviously extremely susceptible to the flowers.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it went straight, literally, as far as you guys are concerned, it went from you handed him a bouquet that was safely wrapped, into him being covered in pollen, planting the shit, and carefully kneading it in.
Simple things.
Or,
The weak-minded are the weak-minded.
actually, go ahead and both of you make me, you can choose wisdom or intelligence. Go ahead and make me a check.
I feel like intelligence.
With a -1.
Ouch.
Oh yes, ouch. So bad.
Rolling wisdom.
Intelligence brings me to 17 total.
Okay. And what's your wisdom?
20.
So that's a 19?
Yeah.
11.
Wow.
What'd you roll?
8.
It's not like a complete failure.
Comparably, it's, 7% better than what I had.
Alright. Well, okay, so you rolled a what?
11.
17, and you rolled an 8 out of 19.
Yeah.
If you combine them together.
Okay, so, I would say this. Out of the details I was going to give you, I would give you this much. It did dawn on you both at some point that there wouldn't have been enough pollen in the bouquet to cover him head to toe like he was.
So he had to have wandered maybe into the flowers.
I'm just saying that your wisdom check there is what
That's
really just because again, every now and again you guys have thought about it. And one thing you guys finally did come to a conclusion.
Like, that was literally one of my first thoughts when you said he was covered. I was like, that did not come from the flowers that was in his hand.
But that's definitely a conclusion that definitely has stuck out at you guys, is that you guys did give him the bouquet, and that definitely got to him somehow, but that wouldn't have been able to cover him head to toe as he was.
But we also remember that one of the things that we almost had happen to us was it tell us to cover ourselves in pollen.
And that was the first thing that happened.
True. Right. So, like, we understand that, yeah, they might have just told him to cover yourself in pollen. And then he fucking did it.
Just go frolic in the flowers.
He had no defenses. So, like, that would make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Well, still doesn't change my statement of simpletons. Anyways, Frank, let's go.
Alright, so let's see. Any special provisions, or are you guys just going to take the standard
money?
The standard pack of what you need for this travel?
Food, water,
Where's the map?
wine.
7. Okay, yeah, so they're both 7 squares away from each other. So if this is normally, I said, a maximum of 3 weeks, right? So we're looking at 21 days. Okay, so you might want to write this down too. So
I gotta get to my notes tab. Wait. Okay.
So considering an unencumbered person, 24 miles a day in clear terrain. On the carriage,
Double?
I wouldn't say a full double, because the horse would still be pulling everything, but you would be able to increase it. So instead of 24, we'll call it 40. So if the horse can do 40 in a day. Okay, so yes, if you could do 40 miles in a day, which would actually make sense because the person can do 24. So yes, okay, yeah, so that would mean that this is about, distance-wise, about 25 miles. The islands are much further out. This is
Right. So we can see all of it.
Yes.
Got you.
Because you guys can do about 40 miles a day. So I calculated
So-
that out for 10 days between moving your home to the capital and everything, it's about that much.
What about from hometown down to the outpost where we're headed?
So what I would say is for you guys, on average, you will
14
travel.
boxes.
You will travel
14 boxes?
on average
Stand
just
by.
over a box a day. Some days you'll travel a box and a half. Some days you'll just travel a box. Some days
So-
you'll travel just under a box.
14 days max.
So about 2 weeks just to get to the outpost.
Okay.
And you guys have just decked out your whole thing, so you guys can basically have 2 weeks worth of rations very easily.
Cool.
Alright, so let's see how well he learns that it does real.
Oh, shit. This is not a static thing. He can reread the books and get better.
He's actually not a bad cook, naturally.
Alright.
You guys do not get poisoned.
What? Fuck.
Yay!
Why is that a thing?
He didn't make us sick. Well, undercooked meat, like undercooked veggies, pick the wrong
but
veggies.
I know.
Cut it all on the same cutting board.
Yeah.
Like, I mean-
Cross-contamination.
A lot of stuff could have happened. Most likely he did cut it all on the same cutting board. Back then you did. But improper cooking could have led to you guys having issues using the wrong ingredients. So the idea was, since you set him on the task, I wanted to see how well he did it up. He doesn't have the proficiency in cooking yet, he doesn't get any bonuses, but he can cook y'all.
Well, hopefully if he does it enough, he'll get a proficiency in cooking.
So, let's see here. Alright, so you guys head out. It's not a bad 2 weeks. The road isn't really populated, but I would say every couple of days, every 2 days or so, for that 2 weeks, you would run into a passing carriage going back to the city that you came from.
Right.
Most of them are just merchants. Most of them only a couple of them have specialty supplies that would be going to the capital, but they're usually pretty armored up. They'll have a bigger escort, they'll have larger containers and things like that. Otherwise, most of them are just small caravans, anywhere from 3 cars. Some of the larger ones could be up to 15.
Could we flag one of these merchants down, one of these specialty merchants down, and
Specific. Because otherwise, it would be very difficult because we'd be rolling for who wants to talk to you and what they might have. If you're looking for something specific, we can roll for seeing if you can find it from them. Because a lot of them are going to different parts of this island, so it's kind of like getting a sneak peek before going to someone's market to find it.
right?
Because every time you guys travel, every right? Every market has different things, in different cities. It's not like, modern day where everybody has the same stuff.
Right.
But certain people have certain connections, And the thing is well, one leaves town, so they have to be their imports somewhere. So if you would be able to persuade someone to talk to you, the idea is that you can get a sneak peek without having to travel to whatever market and whatever.
Right.
So, if you're looking for something specific, we can roll for that, and we might be able to find it.
I don't know if I'm looking for something specific, but I was just curious.
So, otherwise, you guys make it on. You guys end up getting to this outpost. So, you can definitely tell that this outpost definitely used as a checkpoint based off how you can tell how in the map it really does seem to be built right in the only crevice of these massive, almost unclimbable mountain ranges. But at the base of this crevice, it looks to be a fortified, almost like castle barrier, kind of like what you would expect to see on the castle wall. So it's all built out of the stone, which you can tell is been carved directly out of this, the two mountains that are literally bringing this down. As the mountains kind of come down and come crashing into this valley, where they were eventually having had stuck had been all carved out into flat walls, and then others had been quarried out behind it to make it bigger. And then the middle part, basically a gate had been constructed with all that quarried out. So you have a very nice look. I mean, it's not necessarily intimidating, as in no one gets in, no one gets out. But it just looks, it's actually more very elaborate. I mean, I remember thinking, it's very Roman-esque in its look. It doesn't necessarily look so much as a defensive maneuver as it just does a show of what we were able to do with this material and the situation at hand. In fact, in this particular case, this place doesn't even have like a portcullis. It doesn't have a gate. It's a giant open arch. And when I mean giant, we're talking 2 football fields wide. It's the opening of the archway, and then it just goes up.
That seems awfully big.
It's huge.
Damn.
They say it took hundreds of years to complete.
Alright. You motherfuckers don't mess around.
Some say it's still not complete. Some say it never got complete. Looks pretty damn complete to y'all, but some say that it never actually got finished. Some say the gods created it because of how massive and how elaborate it is. Some say that it couldn't have been done by man, and that the gods created this when they opened this land up to the mortals, and this was the gate that we entered this land in. That's the religious pseudoscience, reasoning, the religious scientific explanation behind that archway was the entrance to this land that basically Gaia had made for us to live here, when her sister was immortalized as this happened. But yeah, so you guys actually go through the archways. Like I said, it's huge. There seems to be this almost like a tent city, caravan city, compiled outside of it. Mainly just seems to be voluntary. There's no reason for it other than people just have a lot of stuff and they don't want to go necessarily inside, so they've set up shop right outside because hey, people are coming in and out as it is. Why go anywhere? Why not just live here and then sell directly to the sellers? You can see that this is like kind of a makeshift shanty town, but it's not bad. No one seems to be impoverished. It's just how they've chosen to live. And then people are coming and going. Think if Disneyland had a proper entrance to their park, like a proper size entrance where people can come and go freely. That's basically what you're seeing. As that many people, but not congested into a line.
Okay.
But yeah, it seems to be hustling, bustling, a lot of business going on. It definitely seems to be a barter-centric town. So. Barter. Centric. So a lot of you can see a lot of deals happening as you're walking through the streets. You can hear that it's not just money. It's not things aren't just this price. You actually don't hear a lot of people asking how much something is. You hear people immediately making offers on it. So someone will come up and go like, "Oh, that's nice. Can you tell me about it? Oh, it's such and such. It's made of this." It's like, okay, well I have this for you, and they go on to explain something. They say, well, hey, have you ever needed to know how to do this? And people will just straight up offer a service or a lesson right then and there. Or someone will say, you'll see someone walk by, like one of the older blacksmiths, who has a lot of nice craft. But you'll see him working on something, and you'll see someone walk up and be like, see his fire kind of going behind him. And you'll see someone walk by and be like, hey, I got a quick chip. If I get your bellows going back, can you fix that real quick? And they'll make the deal right on the spot. He'll go in and shovel some coal while the blacksmith just hammers up that little chip. He'll get his fire stoked back up and back and go and get his...
Can we live here? Sister, I like this place. I want to live here now. Just kidding. Yeah, but still, this place is cool.
So some people are trading, coin, but for a lot of it, you can tell that people are much more open to an exchange of value than necessarily monetary.
Cool.
So you guys are actually able to find an inn that's attached to the stables where you can safely have everything locked up, or at least as far as you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell that this place has a somewhat seedy element to it. In terms of, you don't immediately get that sense of, I'm completely safe here.
Right.
Nothing has to worry me. There's enough of it around where you
There's
can
enough
feel,
debauchery that
you can feel the shade.
it's in the air.
Yeah. And a lot of them seem to be more the locals, people who stay there permanently, so you can definitely tell that this is not you can tell that they stand out to the people that you're normally used to, and that's why you just have that natural apprehension. Your nameless servant is more than happy to, you basically made the carriage comfy enough for him,
Right.
that, as far as you guys know, he is human, so again, just keep that in mind for you guys. It's just out of game. He's a dwarf, but that accounts for his size and his stature, but as far as you guys know, you just think that he's just a short human, like a stunted human. Because again, you guys don't really have the concept of other races in that sense right now. You guys don't have elves and orcs and things like that. Those are fictional as far as you guys are concerned.
Oh, really?
That stuff is... Andre is the most supernatural thing you've ever seen. Outside of your belief in the gods, and that gods can be creatures and other things, as far as you're concerned, elves are a fairy tale. Or they don't exist here. Like, elves are either a fairy tale, or they're kind of like, in Game of Thrones terms, kind of like the tree folk. They once existed or exist very, very far away.
Right.
But no one here believes in elves or thinks of elves as you'll run into one. So a dwarf is just not a natural thing that you would have jumped to. You'd have been like, oh, tiny person. Because he himself has more humanistic features. He doesn't stand out as an opposite race. He just has prominent features of dwarfism.
Okay.
So he'll stay there since you guys have basically made it a bachelor pad. And then you guys can go into the tavern there. This tavern's actually pretty nice. Think a mixture of a piratey kind of bar, like that kind of liveliness, but slightly upper class. Where you're not having like straight up bar fights like everywhere, and people aren't like stabbing each other. But you still have the gambling, you still have the recklessness, you still have the over drunkenness and rowdiness.
Right.
You have the very slutty waitresses. You have the big rough bartenders. You have the bouncers, but you also have just that liveliness of the crowd. A lot of chatter, a lot of clanking of gold and glasses and stories being told. Generally, it's a good feeling, but again, you can tell that this crowd's tilted on the seedier side, giving it that piratey look, because you can just tell based on who they are. They flash their, they flaunt. Gold teeth. Some of them actually have like gold teeth. Some of these are the sailors. Others just wear jewelry, proudly. Again, not pirates, but in that sense of flashiness, these people are not afraid to show that they have wealth. And they're definitely not afraid that you know about that.
Okay.
And some of them seem a little bit reckless with it.
I kind of wish they were pirates, because I totally want to, start, a sea shanty in this place right now.
But yeah, so that's the kind of feel you get from it. Definitely something that, you were more comfortable in. This is not who you are, but it's your, interpersonal, what you think even she doesn't know. This is kind of your personal, who you believe you actually are. It's a thing of you want to be these people so much that you kind of actually think that you could get away with it.
You see,
but in reality, you're not. But your charisma totally lets you just.
So here's how I look at it. In my life, I have found that in a lot of situations, I blend right with whatever situation I'm in, whether I'm, hanging out with boys from the hood, I blend into that situation, or if I'm hanging out with some whatever.
And
that's how I feel this
character is this would be the crowd that, I mean, if you weren't a bard, this would be the crowd that you would be in. Like, you always felt like if you didn't become a bard, if you just weren't gifted lyrically and musically and talented, this is where you would have ended up. Like, with these kind of people, with this, like, lively bunch of scoundrels. Again, not true criminals, just people who don't live where you live. People who don't live with good money and good houses. You would expect yourself to live in a bartering city. In a city where you live by your merit. In a city where, you know, you live by people knowing who you are and not threatening you because they know who you are. Like, you always fantasize about, it's like, yeah, if I wasn't gifted, I'd live here like that. You know, I'd earn my own wages. Because again, you respect that. You absolutely respect.
Oh heck yeah, I do.
Those are the heroes that you respect the most. The people who did what had to be done, not necessarily the people who were best. But yeah, like you said, like you want to blend in, and you have that natural charisma to just get under people's skin, but in the right way. Like they just somehow empathize with you.
And I them.
Okay, so you guys get there. You guys get some drinks. You guys order, right? After a while, you did notice you spotted what is basically their version, more like an organ, but an archaic piano/organ kind of thing. Something you're not quite familiar with. But you noticed it. You also have noticed a couple other people here with musical instruments, either in their cases or just nearby, or on their person. At one point, someone had busted out like an accordion across the way. You kind of thought that they were part of a band. But you only heard them play a couple chords and a couple melodies, and then their table kind of got rowdy, and they all clanked glasses, and then they just started drinking. So, you know, not necessarily if, you know, you're not quite sure what they are. They could have just been a guy that just started, you know, they just knows how to play. Could be a bard. But, you know, there's kind of that going on. But then there does seem to be, at one point shortly after you're there, because you guys got there just before sundown, on the final day, and you notice that you kind of see that there is a bit of a shift change. There we go. I cannot think of that word. You know, basically, you see a couple more people come in. You know, two step behind the bar, and after a few minutes, the one that was there leaves, and then the other two start manning the bar. You know, they kind of do. You know, they look exchange money, count the tips, do that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's getting late. You know, it's end of the night, so maybe now it's going to be a rowdier crowd. So you have two bartenders, one male, one female. The other one was just male. The bouncers also seem to get swapped out, and there seems to be a few more of them. And then all the wait staff seems to also switch out. And right about that time, you know, you guys have had your meal. You know, you're done. You're having a good time. You don't have to worry about the carriage. It's like when the first time you're traveling, you really don't have to worry about it because he's sleeping in it. So literally, no one can steal it without you guys knowing. So you guys are just trying to relax, have a good time. You know, just have a couple too many on purpose. You know, even with the seedy part of town, you guys are, you know, so confident that everything's cool. I mean, you're that happy-go-lucky kind of person.
What if with the female bard?
Okay, so good. You do that. So while that's happening, and everything's kind of going, you guys are getting into a couple of drinks and the party. You know, again,
I'm legit like have like the biggest freaking smile on my face. Got this big old brew in my hand, and like I'm walking around this bar like with feet up, like through the bar, just like taking it all in. Like, look at this shit. Like, look at this. This is all in my head, by the way. Look at this shit.
At one point, you guys were, both sitting there, just kind of like looking at each other, just without just completely buzzed face. Like, this is good. Like, we needed this. Like, we're away from home. Like, we're gonna go to another island. Like, it's like that first time you leave the country. You're just like, we're gonna go some places. Like, this is some shit right here. And from across the bar, you immediately get your attention caught. You not so much. You're
busy.
You're like, she's awesome. Well, you're buzzed and you're flirting, so just say like, she's awesome. But you're just, you're on high alert, kind of, but again, in a good way. And it catches your attention first because through all of the crowd, you begin to hear someone start singing. And then only a few seconds later does there seem to be like almost the slightest hint of music behind it, like maybe someone started hearing her sing, and even further in the distance, someone started playing an instrument. So not quite like a band has started, but someone started singing and then someone else started playing.
As soon as this happens, My foot stops, I rotate, and I drop my foot. And I'm like, and I start walking in that direction.
And essentially you see one of the the waitresses just kind of walking around with basically a pitcher of ale. And she's walking around going from table to table singing. And at first it starts off as just a normal, the bar's still lively. It's not like she's hushing the place, but she's going around from table to table. People are throwing money into the basket. She's refilling their tankards, and it sounds kind of much like a tavern shanty, not necessarily like a shanty, like pirate shanty, but just a traveler's thing. And then as she kind of goes from table to table, and then she starts to get closer to you. I need you to go ahead and make for you, it would be a charisma check.
Mm-hmm.
I'm alright with that.
Are you?
Yep.
Are you?
Mm-hmm.
A little too excited right now.
Listen, I will live vicariously through Olive. Okay?
What'd you roll?
2.
Alright. I need you.
It's gonna be one of those. It's gonna be one of those stupid rom-coms. That's what this is gonna be.
Empty your pockets.
That's what this is gonna be.
You need to make a safer spell.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
What the?
Safer spell.
You also need to make a safer spell.
They're fucking trying to charm us.
Come at, bro.
Come on.
Come at, bro.
And the sleeves get pulled up.
Saber spell. Where is that? 15?
Yeah, so you need to roll over that with a d20.
Oh, 9?
Out of
15?
Shit.
What'd you roll?
10.
Out of
15.
So you both kind of actually get captivated by her voice, and as she swings again from table to table, she comes over to fill your glass, and her eyes catch you. Her voice is just immaculate, and she doesn't even ask. She just simply walks up and then just kind of waves the basket and roll me a d20. 1. Really?
Lucky.
Lucky?
Or is it bad?
You give her 10 gold.
Nice. Lucky.
But she winks at you, and you're happy, and you're just like, and you just feel satisfied with her service. And she just moves along and continues to collect money and fill people's tankards.
Was that an empty thing?
I mean, she's so beautiful. She definitely deserves. I mean, she serviced you very well. I mean, she just, she is the greatest waitress. And then she finally makes her way over to your area, and as she kind of winks at the bartender. Bartender kind of winks back at her. She kind of winks over at you. And then she does the same thing. She moves her basket in front of you. Roll d20.
Me? I'm busy.
This is both of our goals.
You're thinking threesome right now because all 3 of you are winking at each other.
11. I like that number.
You give her 20 gold.
Do I have that on?
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna put both of them in here. We're down 30 gold.
You guys would have to spend spendable cash.
We're down 30 gold.
The only thing is you guys are some of the some high rollers in here too. So
We're high rollers?
y'all got like some cash bump recently. Even though you spent a lot of it, but you still had some cash left over.
We're not like flaunting it or nothing. Like we're keeping our stuff low key.
But that's the thing is, it's not about that. It's about what you knew you could give up. Safer spell, dude. You know what you could afford. She never asked you for how much. She basically just waved a basket in front of you and then offered to fill your tankard. Like, she never said price, and you know what you can afford. So she continues on, and then she seems to go to, again, making her circles to the back of the other side. And as she kind of goes a little bit away, even though you can still hear, you're kind of a little bit more like back to normal.
Okay.
You're back to just flirt with the bartender.
Do I notice it?
What?
What just happened?
Yeah. It's just you guys are just now back to where exactly you were before you started singing.
My
You
question.
hear her very in the distance on the other side of the bar, but as far as you guys are concerned, it's literally the moments right before she started singing that you're just kind of like, oh, so that just happened. But
We remember what happened.
Yeah. It's not like it just didn't happen. It's just now you guys are back to your mindset of, oh, okay. Basically, you're back to you.
My question is this. Do I have enough wisdom to understand what just happened?
Yeah.
Meaning that what just happened was not of my own free will.
You want to roll for it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh.
Sure. You would be wisdom or intelligence because you're psychosis.
5.
You know Bard when you see one.
Yeah, I do. But I knew that from the moment I heard her voice.
But again, well, no, not necessarily. There's a difference between singers and a bard. Now, in-game, you don't call each other bards.
Right.
Right? A bard is just someone who performs, right?
Right.
That's just like saying you're an actor. But the difference is it's kind of like saying a wizard knows a wizard, but they're magicians.
Right.
You know an actor, you know a singer, you know bands, you know someone who knows how to manipulate. That's what I mean by you know a bard. It takes one to know one. It's not that she's the same as a singer, it's not that she's a performer. She could admit this could be her first time. But you know someone who knows how to get what they want by distracting people.
Got it.
So that's what I mean by
got it.
Out of
no, that
it's not the term bard, but
yes,
you know a bard.
That clarifies 100%.
Yeah,
100.
She can do what you can do.
Okay.
Would you roll?
15 out of 20.
Yeah, you've seen him do this too many times. You know exactly what happened because it pisses you off when he does it.
He can do that too?
Not to that extent. But you know Charming, you know how he can influence people. That was just way, way better. Like, that was scary better. But, kind of like I said, you know a bard when you see one. You live with one. And you hate when you guys are in an argument. And in the middle of the argument, he seems to be making a point. But in fact, he's just quoting a poem. And then at the end of it, you're just like, that was beautiful. Why the fuck up?
Oh, like Becca when she sold the...
Yeah. Your words are like cinnamon to my ears. But that doesn't mean I'm not mad at you. That's kind of like...
Oh my god.
So again...
I love picturing...
Again, it's just that mentality of you know when someone's manipulating people.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And you both can pick up on that.
So I need you guys to know this, because this is exactly what is going to have had gone through my head as all that happened. So, as this lady is coming up to me, right, I did exactly what I did. I was like, sister, I found my wife.
Mentally.
Yeah, just mentally. And then as she comes up, and as this wave just comes over me, and I'm like, here's my gold. More... Oh, there's nothing. That's okay. I still love you.
Right.
And then she disappears.
She's too busy singing. She just doesn't notice that she has an
and then
she'll bring it back later.
And then as she's walking away, and as I'm thinking about how beautiful it is, and then as she's getting further away, and I'm realizing, and I'm coming back to my normal self, not thinking anything of it as of yet, and then realizing I just gave 10 gold and I have no beverage, and she just left. And no. This and she just left, and then I know what just happened. I've felt that before. I've done. I'm going to marry her. That's exactly full circle. All of the things that just happened. I'm like, I'm gonna get you. Let's go. Come on. All right. I'm fine.
And how do you react to, after you both kind of like come back, the bartender kind of looks around, kind of looks almost a little bit puzzled, and goes, and she just kind of, she knows that it's a waitress, so she just kind of shrugs and then pulls a bottle out and refills your glass.
Has she been around here before?
She says, yeah, she's one of our regulars. Typically works the week. She's one of our highest paid. She gets the most tips.
I can see.
She kind of raises her eyebrow and goes, and she says it confidently, but at the same time, there's almost a twinge of question in the back. She goes, we all can. And then she goes, excuse me, and then she goes up to the customer.
Oh.
Well, I mean, just, because she has to keep going. So, in between, she's been good at the customer, but she always comes back to you. So, I'm assuming that you would have been kind of still paying attention to her.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, you would have actually noticed that she seems to pass by, when she made her background, as a back table with a couple of people sitting at it, two of which are playing instruments, kind of backing her. And then the other two were just sitting at the table. But as she passes by,
shit.
She dropped off that full basket. She dropped off that full basket, or basically emptied it out.
At that table?
On their table, and then is now going back. She's switching up her song, they're switching up the tempo, and now she's going and taking a different route to the other side of the room, kind of hitting different things.
Alright.
And you can see that different people are...
Let's go. Let's go.
Like,
Guess what?
Single silver,
Guess what?
all the way up to, a couple gold.
Betty. Counter song, sir.
Yeah.
Counter song, sir. And I just start humming a little tune. Humming away. Humming away.
For the listeners, go ahead and do you have counter song available to read? Just so the listeners know. This will be, I think, your first time truly utilizing it.
Yes.
At least
yes,
appropriately.
indeed. I've used it.
During the trial,
There has been absolutely no reason for it. There was auditory things happening, and I thought counter song could counter it, but it didn't. It didn't.
You're just gonna keep.
I will actually.
Are you gonna take any action? Well, he's just. You can kind of feel him in the background, just doing that whole self-talk. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, I see. You want to do this now? Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it. And he's just kind of
because I got mad.
Himself, but it's echoing enough for you to overhear it because you're not distracted. And you can tell he's doing that thing that he does where he peps himself up over whatever it is that he's getting excited about now.
She's probably like, don't give away all our money.
No, you take the money. You take the. I will.
But she does want to try and contact the singer chick.
You want to contact her?
Yeah. She wants to try.
Really?
Wait, I thought you could just contact unless.
Really? Well, she still has to roll to do the power.
Oh.
But the thing is if it's a psionicist, it won't work unless the psionicist wants it to.
Right.
But she won't know that until she tries.
Right.
If she tries, and that's the beauty of the psionicist is unlike most other things, the psionicist pretty much when they're using their powers always knows if they fail. Like they can tell that they just didn't really get their money. So that's kind of the nice thing. Whereas if you let's say try to hide in shadows, you always assume you win.
Mm-hmm.
You always assume you're hiding in the shadows. Their role is whether or not I react to it. But for that, for the sense of purposes, your character will always continue to act as if they succeeded. So, whereas for her, she doesn't have to act like she succeeded. If she tries to contact someone, let's say it's a psionicist, if they are a psionicist and they are not willing, she will know that it's basically there's a wall there.
Mm-hmm.
That'll kind of cue her in that that person has some sort of mental barrier. Most likely a psionicist, but there's other reasons for mental barriers. Whereas if it's a normal person, if she succeeds, she knows she's made contact and she'll know if she physically failed.
Right.
But if she did not fail and she knows she did the power correctly and nothing happens, she knows something's up.
Right.
Because her contact will hit that wall.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll know it hit a wall and you'll feel the tap on that wall.
Alright, counter song.
Yes, read that out for the listeners.
Another powerful use of story, song, or tale when voiced by a bard is that of counter song. This is the intricate art of canceling the effects of hostile sound, whether it be song, chants, wails, or even commands and suggestions from magical spells. In order to sing the proper counter song or chant the proper counter poem, a bard must concentrate intensely. He may perform no additional actions other than a slow half-speed walk. If he is struck by an attack or fails a saving throw, his attempt is ruined. The exertion is such that only one counter song may be attempted per encounter or battle. Success of the counter song is realized only if the bard rolls successful saving throws versus spell. If this is successful, the hostile sounds have no effect within 30 feet of the bard. If the saving throw fails, the bard's attempt is fruitless, and the hostile sounds have their standard effects. Applicable saving throws and other defenses still apply. Counter singing does not prevent hostile spellcasters from reading scrolls, using magical items, command words, or casting spells, even spells with verbal components. Counter singing does not prevent all other hostile sounds from functioning, including spell effect sounds that require the caster to speak. Yeah.
Cool. So essentially, let's go back to, so basically, I would like to think that, again, instead of disrupting everything, or trying to make it too much because you're at a low level, I think eventually, like, let's say when you're like level 10, what you would do in this situation is totally like pitch perfect it and mash that shit up with like a completely different song. But I think at this point, I would imagine that you bust out which instrument?
My harmonica.
And I would imagine that you actually duet the song. You actually match the song, learn it as you have a few seconds, and basically play the same song on your harmonica but at a different pitch and different tone, which is your counter magic. Because then it acts like, for everybody watching, you're just going along. But everybody within 30 feet of you suddenly doesn't want to tip her, and she knows it. And suddenly, and you can do it a slow walk, and she's barely walking around as well, because she's doing the same thing. So once she gets within your radius, you can literally just walk with her, act like you're playing along, and cancel out her magic the whole way until she's done. That's kind of how I would imagine that your character would want to approach it, because again, doing anything else would be very disruptive, and wouldn't be to the audience's approval. You would want to play on the.
Oh, I would definitely play the whole thing out.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm just saying, it's just
I know. Yeah.
Would you agree? Would you just kind of match that?
Oh, heck yeah.
So go ahead and roll for performance. We want to just make sure that D20. Let's see how well you play along with her.
Is this rolling against anything?
No. This is just how well you play because you're playing your instrument. But the difference is because you can tell her guys, they're not super professionals. They know how to follow her on a tune. This is your opportunity to be like, oh, you want music, girl? You want to sing? Let me give you something to sing to.
16.
Oh yeah, so 16. Yeah, so this one would just be a flat 20. So you definitely. Let's see. So that was a 1. That was a 9. So one guy basically knows these two songs. You can tell he knows these two and these two only. The other guy knows how to play his instrument, maybe a musician, but not a great one. Maybe, he's just does it for his friends. So you definitely outshine them. Like, everybody just kind of forgets that they're playing instruments and kind of focuses on you and the singer, which is now well within your radius. So you are now blocking her off at the same time that she has. You basically have a Venn diagram going on. People past her are still getting somewhat affected, but she's not close enough to collect. But everybody she can collect on is in your bubble and is just kind of sitting there clapping along with her and watching her pass by. There are other people kind of like have their coins out, but as she walks closer, they're just kind of like, yeah, this is fun. They kind of like stop trying to tip. So it's kind of like when you're basically messing with her, and you can tell she immediately starts to after a few tables, she immediately like looks at you, and there's definitely a moment where there's just like there's an acknowledgement going on. Like, okay. They know what you're doing, you know what they're doing, but the song's not over. So, let's see, go ahead and roll another 20. And we will see if she can outsing your harmonica. Oh, and you rolled your contact, right? You made it?
Yeah.
What else do you want to do? Because this will play into what he'll be able to start infecting their company. So you made your contact. Sure. What'd you roll, by the way?
That's a 20.
That 20? Alright. So that's going to help. So I want to know how she's going to. Yeah, she did not roll that 20. That would have been the only way that this would have been even cooler. But so you're about to just totally outdo her. And what are you doing?
ESP to just kind of gauge what her thoughts are on the fact that he just kind of is derailing her right now. Like, is she going to be like, this motherfucker, we have to take him out, or is she going to be like, oh, kind of like him, where it's like, okay, this is like a friendly competition kind of thing, or is there something to be worried here?
All right, go ahead and activate the power. You can see you made contact. Go ahead and activate ESP.
What's the -4?
Oh, this is going to be so perfect.
I matched it.
Nice. And ESP, if I remember correctly, just gives you service thoughts, right? Things that are just kind of passing by their mind at the moment.
Yeah.
You basically get general emotions.
But
and by matching it, the first round of maintenance is free.
Oh,
nice.
There's like a crit bonus or something.
Yeah. But that's on her. She has to remember to call those out.
Can I help her remember?
That's technically what I call metagaming. And that, while we're in the middle of the session, I don't like because That essentially is saying that your character is thinking of things that it wouldn't. Because your character in the moment does not have the ability to have that conversation.
And I need to know how much my first one costs. It's based on her hit die.
Oh, I can look that up. Your hit die is a d6.
No, not her. Not her hit die. The character's hit die. The bard.
That would be a d4. You're talking about your own hit die. I was like, well, I have your character sheet right here. I'll just look. Okay, yeah, so this is going to be interesting. But you passed, right? You definitely did your ESP?
Yeah, I crit it.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, for ESP, surface or active thoughts, you can't explore memories or delve into subconscious, tend to think in words, so language is a barrier. Luckily, she thinks in common, so that's good for you. So, basically, you'll get not so many pictures, but you will get mostly surface thoughts of what she's doing. So part of it is a jumble of lyrics, so you can tell that a lot of her focus is on the song that she's singing. You can definitely tell that she's putting more focus than she should, so she's definitely being distracted. It's kind of like when Becca first started doing the mix in the middle of the song, and they were all kind of like, what the hell's going on? Kept it going, but there was a little bit of a stutter in the song. That's essentially what's going on in her mind, that she's trying to keep up with herself to make sure she doesn't drop it. Because
I'm very glad that I understand these references now.
Right?
Yes.
Anyway, so that's what you get, but the other part of it is you are getting small bouts of, like, curses, and you definitely get a sense of challenge, I guess is the best way to put it. So you definitely do get that sense that she feels challenged and wants to contest. That doesn't necessarily mean that she wants confrontation. You just know that at the moment she wants to accept the challenge, and that she does want some sort of one-on-one. But beyond that, as of this moment, it doesn't go. She doesn't say anything else beyond that. But you still have contact as long as you want to maintain it. So essentially, not only do you have the bubble around you that's encompassing most of her, so again, everybody just outside of her reach is offering, everybody within her reach isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Because you play so much better than she does, it actually does get her off her game enough to where her own ability is basically faltering enough to where almost nobody's being affected anymore. She got off enough because you're distracting her enough that she's not actually doing her magic anymore. So even if you weren't doing counterspell at this point, just your playing alone was enough to distract her to where she can't sing well enough
to steal from people.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have successfully turned her off.
Well, I don't know if that's a good thing.
Everybody. But eventually, she kind of, she gives you that, like, nasty look again as she passes by you.
No, she's not going to pass by me. As soon as she gets near me, as she's making her loop.
No. So what's going? She's not going anywhere near you. Once you guys noticed it, she made sure she tried to get away from you. But
heck no. No. Here's what's happening. Like,
but dude, you're both traveling at half speed because you're both doing the same thing.
No, right.
So once she got in your circle, she immediately started walking away, and you started following her. So she's literally, like, within 5 feet of your.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So she's 25 feet away from you.
Okay.
But everybody 5 feet this way doesn't want to give her money. Everything beyond that. So she takes a step closer. You take a step closer. The moment someone gets within 5 feet of her, they put their money away.
Right.
And then you distracted her enough to where nobody's being affected. So now she's heading back to the far side to her table while the song's ending. Like, she's basically using the song, since you were matching it, she's using that time to essentially retreat to her side with whatever little goal she has.
Got you.
Because now that she's not affecting anybody, she wants to get away before anybody thinks twice. Because you're not telling them otherwise. You're not trying to sway their opinion.
No.
You're just stopping her. It's
Got
just
you.
like, I'm out of here. Good. Fine. Okay. You stopped me. Good for you. Good. So you guys continue this duet, and again, I imagine that you're not just walking towards her all, like, dramatically. You're dancing.
Oh, yeah.
You're twirling around. You're you're going like this to the old lady. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. You go back to the other 9-year-old lady that's there. You do like a little solo for her. You're doing your thing, but generally getting closer. Just as she's doing that, she sits on someone's lap and sings a moment and then gets up.
Right.
You guys are doing it very, very good performance.
I didn't realize she was running away from me because I thought she was gonna pass by, and I was just gonna be like.
The moment you two locked eyes, she tried to get away from you, but that's when you.
Oh, see, I thought she wanted to challenge.
But see, here's the difference. The reason why she's failing, not just because of her die roll, but you are a crowd performer. She's a petty thief who knows how to get people distracted. So that's the difference between taking a stage magician and putting them up against a street magician. Like, you may be able to do, hide the queen pretty well, but make a fucking elephant disappear. That's the kind of the difference is she may be able to twirl around and distract men and things with her beautiful voice. You know how to get everybody's attention at once. But essentially, by the time the song comes to its close and you both are leading up to the duet, you're about in the middle of the bar. And she, as the song comes into duet, or comes to its close, she gets that opportunity to kind of retreat as you're making the grand close, which kind of is more flourishing. So you kind of do a little bit more in the middle of the stage because now you're kind of getting into it too. Just gives her essentially just enough time to get that extra couple feet, and now she's retreating back to her table. So her 4 guys.
4?
Well, yeah, there was the 4 guys that were at her table.
I thought there was 2 guys.
2 played instruments, 2 others.
Oh, okay.
So she retreats back to that table, kind of puts the thing down, and then as soon as you finish your beautiful thing, the crowd erupts. They're all congratulating you. Not everybody.
Are they fucking gone?
No. But that entire table now is basically wasn't that thing. Now they all, as you're kind of as you look over as you're done, they kind of go from sitting there. Now they're all basically staring right at you. They're not happy.
All right.
And you're just sitting there looking smug as shit.
Hell yeah.
And you got 4 people that are just fuck you.
How many rounds would that have been?
I would give it 3 rounds because it took her at the very beginning, and then. Yeah, I would say about a 4-minute song. So the first minute was her coming closer enough to you for you two to battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say it took about 3 rounds to finish the song now.
I would have dropped ESP after the first time I did it. I would have continued to maintain it because it's just kind of expensive.
Okay.
But as it comes near the end, I would try it again.
Okay. Go ahead, activate it. Just make sure you don't fail.
Don't fail.
Well, that's basically what the beauty of PSP is either there's don't fail and did you grit.
Well, I rolled an 18, and my thing was a 16. So is that considered failing?
Yeah, that's in one of those situations where...
Because it's not a crit fail, it's just, it doesn't go off.
Because, when it comes to... Yeah, when you want to use it, the rule exceeds the power score, it means the character tried to use power failed. Failure has a price, you must subtract half the cost of the power rounded up from your total points. Most cases, you can try to use the same power again immediately in the next round. So basically, this is one of those situations where you attempted it, but you didn't succeed. It wasn't a looted logs, you didn't focus it.
So you can just try it again if you want. You used half power.
Well, the power use is contact, which I've already been maintaining. So
then there's no if there's no initial cost to do it, then you don't have to spend anything.
Yeah, no, it's just contact.
So essentially, you can do it again immediately. Yeah. So then roll again, as long as you maintain contact.
11. So I passed it.
Okay. So you get basically the tail end of their conversation, and she's kind of saying the conversation in her head. You get the tail end of what she was thinking. Half of it's, we should get out of here. We don't need this shit. And there's that other half, which is, have half a mind to get him back.
So while that whole conversation is happening, I'm making a beeline for the table. Straight towards them. And I got, again, still the biggest smile on my face. I'm like, this is the most fun I've had since Wisconsin.
So you're just going to approach them?
And I'm going to go right up to them, and I'm like...
So as you approach, because you're beelining it, so as you approach...
I'm running.
But I know that he's walking up to them.
Oh, yeah, he's striding up
So
to
I'd
them.
probably tell him once I hear that from them, I'd probably, kind of relay it to him, be watch out, they'll spook.
Okay.
You're freaking him out.
I slow my pace a half step.
So when you get, just before you roughly get within speaking distance, because she's standing, they were all seated, so she's standing and kind of
she's standing at the side of the table?
Yeah, with her back to you, but they're all been looking over as you walk over. once you get to roughly, about, I would say, like, just over 10 feet,
Mm-hmm.
you have that moment where they all stand up and do that whole, like, as they stand up, you hear the chairs, like, all
Right.
the chairs, just all four of them just get kicked out.
Silence happens because of that.
I mean, not so much. It's not like a saloon moment where everyone goes silent, but you just hear them, like, they stand up, you hear the screeching of their chairs go back. None of them are holding the instruments at this point, and now you can kind of see that they're definitely not dressed for this area, like her friends aren't.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to just be, like everybody else, but they seem to be dressed kind of oddly. Not something that you are used to. Definitely not anything that we would describe as Roman. A lot of fur, so definitely, and then a lot more, like, layered fur, but it definitely seems to be layered over armor.
Oh, snap.
But not sure what kind, because there's just, like, the shoulders are a little bit too square around where the fur's laying.
I'm literally thinking about, like, walking around in the Roman Empire and seeing somebody from Game of Thrones walk out at me.
So basically think of, what's the guy's, the main wildling guy?
Tormund?
Yeah.
The big ginger?
Yeah, the one who always wanted to get with, Ron.
That's...
Or, the one who always wanted to get with the tall chick.
Oh, Brienne?
Brienne, yeah, I was getting her name wrong.
Yeah, Tormund.
Yeah, so basically think of, like, four of those guys.
Right.
Basically, they just all stand up. Half aggressive, half, like, just intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming you keep walking. You don't get spooked by that.
No. I mean, I'll slow down a little bit.
I'm assuming that's the time you change your pace to walk.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I respect you
I'm
guys.
like,
But you keep going up. So
But I
as
still
you
go there.
continue to walk up, she kind of stands up, turns around, and then you can kind of see her make, like, just the subtlest of gestures. And they don't quite relax, but you can tell that they just, like, shift their weight ever so slightly.
Right.
To just being like alright, so we'll listen.
We'll see what happens.
But they don't sit down.
Right. So I walk up immediately and I'm like, wow, that was fun. I haven't had that much fun in, wow. My name's Alo, by the way. What's yours?
So I really wish I could do this justice, but I can't. I wish I could think of a good analogy right now, but actually I can. Have you seen Dragon Prince?
No, I have not.
You need to watch it. You'll get this reference.
Are you going to do that elf?
Yes, it's basically a light Scottish accent, is what she has.
Okay.
So something very unique to you, something that you two are just absolutely not used to. It's subtle. It's enough to know that she's not from around here, but not so much that she's not understanding.
Okay.
And she introduces herself as Mary.
Now, is that accent something that didn't come through while she was singing?
It did, but yes and no. The thing is, with singing, it's not necessarily what you would consider an accent, because sometimes you just change the way you sound when you sing.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been noticeable to consider it her actual voice until she actually spoke. But thinking back on it, you'd be able to hear why it improved her singing and why it's so captivating is because you've never heard it before.
Right.
That's part of the reason why it works so well, is because you don't hear that. Just like no one hears a professional play the harmonica every single day.
Okay.
So it's a very nice and pleasant voice.
Yes, indeed it is.
Really, actually, you know what?
See, because I feel like my character is going to fall in love with the voice, if he's going to fall in love with anything.
Yeah, he's kind of like her.
Does she have fiery red hair?
It's more like the reddish brown. So in the sunlight, you'd see like the halo of red, in the thinner parts. But in here inside, you can tell there's like darker red streaks, but it's not actually fully red. It's more of auburn with red highlights. But definitely the natural way.
Okay.
So, are you still at the bar, or are you going to follow him over now that you see that they just stood up and he's continuing to follow over?
I'm going to tell her I'm
stay
good.
at the bar, but I'm just going to be leaning back on it now. I can kind of
like, how much distance is there between me and her right now?
So in total, I would say that middle of the bar, you have. I would say that this place, being as big as it is, it's probably from wall to wall about 100 feet.
And we're wall to wall away from each other?
She's not all the way on the other side of the wall, so and you're over here, so you guys are probably 55, 60 feet away from each other.
And she can cover that in one turn, right?
Technically in one turn, 5 squares, 25 feet, so 2 turns. It'd take her 2 minutes to make her way up the crowd.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll handle myself for 2 turns.
It's a big ass place, but you know, I mean, it's think of any big bar / club you've ever been in. It doesn't take long, but it takes some time to walk across it.
Yeah, don't be alright. I'm fine. I'm just gonna tell her that. I'll let her know what's happening. Basically, send her snapshots. Clearly, she can see whatever she wants to see, anyways. But send her snapshots of what's going on, and be like, yeah, this is what's happening. I'm good.
So she introduces herself as Mary and basically kind of gives a quick back of that you're not too bad of an entertainer yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, where are you from? I don't run into too many other bars out here.
Okay, you guys really wouldn't.
But I don't run into somebody with talents like yours too much out here.
Maybe you should come by more. I'm here 3 nights a week.
You know what? I will.
Can confirm from the bartender.
Can confirm. That's just when I get in my head. Can confirm.
Oh,
that's great. Yes, indeed.
So we're just going to promote everybody here for free.
Yeah, sponsors, by the way, guys. We could totally...
But they're really not sponsors, so no, we're not.
Future sponsors, we're asking for sponsors. That's all I'm saying.
Nice, but probably not.
Just in case,
All 3 of our listeners, which are going to be all 6, because there's going to be us 3, and
that's for sure.
Maybe 2.
I can convince my roommate to listen. Might get him into it.
So yeah. She basically, you say, I will. And she's like, good for you.
Oh, you don't have to be sour. Listen,
no, she says it pleasantly, but she says it sassy. But if you'll excuse me, I'm with customers at the moment.
Customers? Oh, but I'm so sorry.
As you kind of look around, and they haven't moved, and they all just have this blank stare that they're just staring at you with. Not amused, they're just kind of doing that whole,
Are we going to have problems?
Are you walking away yet? Kind of look.
And I'm like... I'm so sorry to have interrupted your fine evening. My name is Alo. Can I do anything for you guys? Maybe pay for your meal? Can I pay for your meal? Will that be alright?
She goes, they're fine. My customers are well taken care of.
Oh, belay my last. Just trying to help you guys out. Please, peace be with you.
Oh,
enjoy your meal. And then I'll back away.
After you get about 15 feet away, I'm assuming you don't look back, so after about 15 feet away, you kind of hear the chairs being pulled back.
I'm guessing she's still watching them, so I can basically see whatever she shows me.
So, essentially, do you keep watching them over there?
Yeah.
So, they all sit down for a moment. She goes back to chit-chatting with them, only for about another minute or 2. And after that, she kind of collects all the cups on the table. They all get up, and they all head out. And then she just goes back to waiting tables and doing her job.
Okay.
Did they take all the money that she had deposited?
Oh, yeah.
So they took it, she did.
Correct. Well, I mean, it's not there anymore. And she kept dropping it off at the table, and it's not there anymore. But as long as you guys watch, she doesn't seem to do it for the rest of the night, nor does she seem to do anything other trickery like that. And if you were to talk to the bartender, which I'm assuming that he would be, she doesn't sing every night. It's kind of just, whenever the mood strikes, or if there's a big enough crowd, then, sometimes she'll try to liven the party up. Or if, there's musicians in the house, she'll sing along. She'll, if they want to play, then she'll sing. But otherwise, the place kind of has a standing rule where if there's any performers, they're free to play just if they want to. And there's no rule against earning money here, as long as you're doing it in a way that benefits the tavern. So if you're taking money from the tavern, that's different. Mm-hmm. You want to come sell beer here, that's a problem. You want us to carry that on tap, that's different. You want to come sell your art here, fuck do we care? People buy your art, they're going to buy beer first. You know what I mean? You want to come play and then put a jar out so people will tip you? Cool. As long as you're not disrupting our business, do what you want. Now, if you're terrible and you're losing us business, we're going to kick you out. But if you're good, we don't care how much people tip you.
But if you're playing outside and you're drawing people out of the bar,
then that's a problem.
You're in trouble. That's what the voucher's for.
Yeah, so essentially, it's kind of, she just sings when it's appropriate.
Okay.
I'd say mentally to him, looks like she's not busy anymore. I should go chat her up again.
Yeah. I need to reevaluate my approach.
I would have broken contact basically after that last ESP.
Okay. So basically for the rest of the night, you just kind of notice that for the rest of her shift, nothing really happens for the rest of the night. Again, just like the bartender said, it's not like a nightly occurrence.
Real quick, is this where we're staying? Is this place like lodging?
Yeah. You're staying on site. Your horses are just out in an attached stable.
Okay.
This is just downstairs. It's just a giant
right,
restaurant bar. You just happened to come on Friday night. You ended your Friday night, so it was pretty poppin' night.
Okay.
Because everybody who works at the docks, or not necessarily at the docks, because it's far away, but basically everybody who works around here, and then again all of the traders that are passing through and everything, this is kind of a bigger night for people.
Right. Well, if that is the case, then after all of that hullabaloo, it's probably going to be pretty late at this point, because we've been here a while, and it was late when we got here, so I would probably go upstairs, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and in my head, I'm going to be doing what I'm doing right now, just basically trying to figure out how to talk to this girl again. What am I going to do? Because whatever it is, it's going down.
Even though you're in the middle of a great conspiracy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Totally put that on hold.
I'm putting it on hold. That's what I'm thinking about right now, because I'm about to go to sleep, and that's what just happened. And I'm just like, damn.
Go ahead and roll percentiles. Just don't do it out there. Just roll percentiles. Well, there's only one roll I'm looking for. What is it?
49. Dang it. I don't even know what it was anyways.
So, you retire, and then do you try anything else, or do you also call it a night before you guys head out?
I mean, she would see when the bartender's there.
How you doing?
Whenever you say so. Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and make a charisma check.
Does the bartender also stay in this?
Are you kill Greggy in this operation, or are you gonna try to do this naturally?
Yeah, just natural.
Okay. So yeah, roll me charisma.
She's not evil.
I'm just saying, you could just easily,
But that's an evil act.
Okay, then just roll me the charisma then.
I will once I can actually see it.
And then after that, it'll be a percentile roll. Percentile?
Placentile?
Oh, God.
Where my baby's in the house. Alright, I got a 15 out of 16. And percentile. Can you confirm that?
Can confirm.
What is it?
33.
Oh.
No! It's only a couple things that need confirmation on them, and I'm feeling that's probably one of them.
That's the one where, you guys' roll, the ultimate percentile roll, pretty much 99 times out of 100 that you want is, the 69 roll. That's just kind of a house rule that I selfishly stole because it's a badass roll, and, why let a rule like that die?
True.
That rule should always live on.
True.
Kind of like I believe in demonic roll and risk. I believe that whenever you are attacking or defending and you need to roll 3 dice, I think if you roll 3 sixes, your team summons the Satan himself, and you automatically win. Usually it works on attack rolls because that's when you roll 3, and if you do, no matter how many people they have defending, I think you automatically get to conquer that country if you roll 666.
I would agree with that.
I'm just saying, I think, so just like that roll, that I think...
I would agree with that.
The whole thing of you guys rolling the 69 roll is kind of on point. For me, on the other hand, I also like to have good rolls out there for me, just for me. So when you guys roll percentiles, 33 means I get to have as much fun as you guys get when you guys get 69 rolls. So, my little Easter egg is put in there. So yeah, 33 roll. So you succeed, especially with a 15 out of 16 on your charisma. But a little bit more than you expected.
Oh, jeez.
Remember that triple way wink I was telling you about?
Yeah.
So when she gives you the key, she basically says where's your room key? When you give her yours, she takes it back and gives you a different one. Looks like kind of like a nicer key, and it's on a higher floor. So kind of a free upgrade. She says that she'll see you up there. After she cleans up in half an hour. But when she arrives, waitress is with her, Mary.
Sorry, bro.
just did like a snapshot kind of.
This is why she wasn't into you. Sorry.
Bitches.
It's just like if I told him I should both her butts.
Bitches.
So, you and those two will have
A lovely night.
With that charisma roll that you made, whatever you want to imagine happen can pretty much happen.
We're having a lovely night.
Yeah.
And I didn't even have to manipulate.
Maybe we'll do an adult only episode just
After
on
dark episode.
The happenings of the rest of that night.
The After Dark episode.
Damn.
Anyway, so the next morning, both very refreshed and very well rested, I hope.
If there was sleep. Oh.
Make for breakfast. She doesn't look quite as kept up as she normally does.
Who?
Her. She doesn't look quite as... I mean, she's, manager always. She's always, very strict. She's always, very poignant.
As expected.
Little off today.
I know what she looks like after she's had a night of fun. Okay? This is not news to me.
I'm just saying.
This
She's never had this much fun before.
This is no surprise. Okay? Like, do you, sister. Do you, and all of them, and then you again. Do you?
So breakfast would be a fun conversation. Anyway, so you guys, do you end up trying to stay here for any reason, or are you guys basically doing this pit stop and head on to the docks, which will be, I think, another, couple days? Another, 4 days? 5 days?
Yeah, I would say.
Did Mary come down, or is she still upstairs?
Seeing as how they pretty much work the night shift, that's pretty much like one of the staff rooms, one of the ones that they take for themselves.
Yeah.
So, they pretty much are racked up for
11
days.
11 squares.
So, if you guys can travel basically just over a square a day.
So, yeah, no, 11 days.
9 days. It would cut down, so we'd even up to about 9 days. So just over a week.
Okay.
Yeah, so that will give you technically, if you're going on the basis of trying to do one of these a month, once you get to the docks, that should give you guys just over a week to accomplish the mission.
Okay.
Yeah, if we can sail
Accomplish
there.
the mission in a week? It might take us a week just to get there.
Right.
Wait, did Andre say we have to finish each one in a month?
Well, you guys know that, again, it's not precise. So your estimate is that when you guys left home, you estimated about 3 months until the Gaia Rising event. But what that means, you're not really sure. And it's kind of like saying, technically we have the first day of summer.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that really mean? Because it's usually 3 weeks before that we're getting 90-degree days.
Mm-hmm.
So what's really the first day of summer? So your estimate, because there's not really a calendar date for it, it's this year, and it's estimated to happen roughly these coming seasons. So not so much a hard set on 3 months, but it's the idea of the entire time. So you're trying to look at it in blocks of 3 months, but you don't have to do it in 3-month increments. And besides, it may have taken you the first month just to get to the first place, but based on that, you might be able to get the next one done in under a week. If you know what you're doing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So just keep in mind, you're not on any particular benchmark time frame.
Okay.
Just so you guys aren't, worried too much about, we only have a week to do it. It's just benchmarking.
Okay.
But yeah, so you guys will arrive there in a week's time.
Okay.
Once you get to the dock, we should be able to do the thing at the dock, get you to the next island, and basically do the first task. So we could probably do that in one solid gaming session.